Hello, you amazing people out there, and welcome to the Amazing Action Comics Podcast, where we are all about independent comics. I'm one of your hosts, Angel, with John Pepe.
How's it going, Angel?
Happy New Year.
Yeah.
It is wonderful to be back. We were on hiatus for like a good almost 3 or 4 weeks, right?
Yeah, about a month.
Whew.
The holidays were a little hectic this year, so it was a well-deserved break, I think,
It was. I think we needed it both, just physically and mentally, because it's a lot to take on, especially towards the end of the year when you have to deal with family.
Oh, yeah, I had to deal with Diamond distribution. I had to deal with New Book Day for Christmas Day and New Year's Day. I mean, we weren't open. We were open on Thursday instead. We usually
Right.
Yeah, so that was fun.
Yeah, it's just a lot of stuff that's just going on in the backgrounds with Diamond that's just insane. And there's still residual stuff happening with that.
Oh, yeah,
So,
yeah.
and it looks like it's not going to get solved for a while. But
it's a scene, man.
but you know what? I had to deal with it at a minimum from a distance, which I'm happy about.
Yeah.
As long as the file comes in correctly and it can get uploaded, I'm good to go. But yeah, people, welcome back. Happy New Year. This is the Amazing Action Comics Podcast. We took a little bit of a hiatus, John and I, so that we could be with family and I guess just relieve some stress and, let you guys do your thing as well. For those of you guys that are brand new, John and I have been doing this for what? 3 years now? Has it been that long?
I think it's been 3 years all told. Yeah. I know you started it before.
Right.
I hopped in around episode 50-ish.
Yes. And this is like episode 145.
And I always call it the quasi-weekly review show. Expect it weekly, but like how books miss ship dates, no gig is confirmed until the band is on stage playing. So
that's right, man. Yeah. Shit happens. Books get delayed. I get freaking lucky and then freaking I can't walk for like 3 days. So it's all good. But yeah, so, John and I get together every week. We look at the wall and we pick some stuff out from the indie or small creator. So let's do this. Let's start off the new year, at least before we get into the news and stuff like that, with what we consider and what we review independent comics. Because there's a lot of a verbiage that's thrown out there in regards to what independent means, small press, creator owned, all of this. So basically when John and I are looking at books, we're looking at books that are not from the big two, because there's plenty of podcasts that do a ton of Marvel, DC, pop culture, that's current stuff. And not to say that indie stuff isn't pop culture, because more and more, because there's so much content out there, you've probably seen something either on TV or an actual film that's either graphic novel based or comic based and didn't know it. Most people think that comic stuff is just superhero stuff, but holy shit, every genre that you could think of in a movie is in the comics and even more. So what we look for are small press, independent, and then some people will say, well, you guys review Image Comics and they're like the third biggest publisher out there. Yes, they are. But the criteria that they fall under is that all of the stuff that they publish is creator owned. So Image does not own any of that material like the big two. Those are their toys. When you work for them, you play with their toys. At Image, you bring your toys and they say, okay, hey, we deliver it to the world. So that's why we include Image stuff there. And then obviously the small press stuff of, we had a bunch of new publishers that came up last year that we actually started reviewing. They've been around for a while. Like I got into Mad Cave Studios for a bit. Boom was always kind of around, but I got into them a little bit more, not a whole lot more, because their barcodes still piss me off. And then there was Keen Spot. I think we did a couple of reviews on. Yep. I still haven't. I think the last thing from Ahoy Comics was what was that? Wrong Earth, which
right.
I kind of fell off of. But yeah, there's a ton of publishers that we kind of reviewed. Dark Horse still falls under small press for us, along with a bunch of other ones as well.
Basically, if you're not owned by the perfectly normal folks at Disney and Warner Brothers, you are fair game to be reviewed on this show. It's basically that. If you don't have that big suit money behind you, the big mouse ear money behind you, then yes, we're not touching it. Not to say we don't like that stuff. We do. We like that stuff.
Yeah, we read it. I read my stuff every week. Absolute Batman, Absolute Superman, Absolute Wonder Woman. Dude, it's been a while since I've been like invigorated with like the big two stuff, and that stuff has me enthralled every time it's coming out. I love the direction that's taking, and it's funny because I don't think it's being solicited as an Elseworld kind of thing. It's just a reimagining.
Just their absolute line. It's like again, DC following Marvel's tail, and it's ultimate DC, right?
Yes, yes.
But look, I mean, I think part of the philosophy, aside from the fact that you're an indie comic creator, you have your own indie comic publishing company, but it's also, in doing this, it's sort of like, yeah, we could pepper in reviews of like mainstream stuff, but really, do you want to be one of 5,000 guys talking about how great Bigger Batman is, or do you want to be the one person talking about how cool Pine and Merrimack is, or right? I mean, that's
the mortals.
Yeah, like. So that's part of it too. It's that this is stuff that doesn't get the light shined on it by a lot of people, and we're using our little pen lights because we're not that big. We're gonna get big. We're gonna get to that mag flashlight that they advertise that can shine into space, right? But right now we're shining our little pen lights on these gems that you don't normally see.
But in there lies the irony, right? We're independent ourselves, but if you do it long enough, you become part of that pulp culture sort of like phenomena because you end up blowing up if you blow up.
Oh, when we hit 1 million subscribers, we're absolutely reviewing Bigger Batman issue 100.
So here it has to be 1 million subscribers, and then
we will sell out. We will sell out.
We'll sell out. So it's been good, and John mentioned. So our roles here are basically, my role is just from the creative side of things. Not to say that John's not creative, but because I'm in the creative process from writing to drawing and in the publishing aspect, I look at books from that aspect. And John tends to be more of a historian, so he'll bring in useless effing facts that I didn't even know about, but enlighten all of us, which is fantastic. And then brings his creative eye to things as well. Because sometimes I'll shoot him scripts, which I'm still waiting for feedback on, so that we can move forward. And I think it's crucial because I think, and it's funny because we'll talk about this as we go on throughout the year, as I go through the creative process. But I think one of the things that most creators, especially new creators, they want to hold on to things really tightly, are afraid of feedback, and are trying to perfect things. So this is my New Year's advice for new creators who are looking to create. Fucking just create. It does not have to be perfect. It has to be finished. And then just shoot it out there and get feedback from people that you trust and from people that may be in the industry or people that have published themselves, just so that you can get some fresh eyes on it. Because when you're looking at for something for too long and don't have an opportunity to step back, there's so many things that can fall through the cracks. And I'm not just talking about grammar, plot holes, things don't make sense, time jumps. Like as a creator, there's so much shit in my head and I'm like, yeah, this makes sense. But then I write it and someone reads it, they're like, what the fuck does this mean? That's where we're at. So amazingactioncomics.com is our main site. The Amazing Action Comics podcast grew out of that. Justin Bartz is the other half of Amazing Action Comics, and we're in the process of rebooting one of our flagship comics. We have other stuff in the works coming down the pipe, and I actually got a couple of more people that want their books published through us. So there's some exciting stuff that's going on. And as an independent publisher, things don't move as quickly as other things that are out there, but they move. I think the thing that most independent creators need to understand is that when they're soliciting themselves, when they're going to a publishing company, whether it's a big company, small company, whatever it is, and they want their work out there, do not come to them with unfinished products. It's really difficult to sell unfinished products because in this day and age, if you don't have something consistently out every month, if it's a closed package of 3 issues, 5 issues, if it's an ongoing, whatever it is, if it's not consistently delivered out into the public, it's just forgotten and it's put to the wayside. And we know the struggles, which brings us to when we do reviews. Some of the rules that we have, John and I, is the number one rule. I think the most important rule is that we do not shit on books. So we don't necessarily say a book sucks. I think there's something out there for everybody. And if I pick something up and it's not my cup of tea, I will tell you that it's not my cup of tea. It may be somebody else's, or I'd recommend it to somebody who likes this particular genre, or to check it out. So that's one of the things that you'll never hear. And I know I've listened to plenty of podcasts where people just like, whew, they rip new ones into people and stuff like that. And to each their own. But that's not what we want to do here. We want to make it a little bit inclusive, but at the same time, just open up to as many different possibilities. And I think the thing that's happened with me the most since we started this is it's opened me up to books that I normally wouldn't read outside of the genre that I like, which is superheroes. So, I mean, anthropomorphic, bleh, but I read Mad Dog. What was it? No, Good Boy.
Good Boy.
Dude, fantastic.
Yep.
John Wick as a dog? Fuck it, I'll take it all day. So it's been a journey, and it keeps morphing. I know for a while we were doing movie reviews that were related to books that we read. I think we might do that sometime again. To the middle of the year. We'll try to get that stuff going. And absolutely, one of the things that we want to focus on this year is to bring creators on that are looking to promote themselves and upcoming works that they have. I think what's really great about this community and is the fact that we have the ability to promote one another, push one another to be better. It's not about just being the best, but taking people along the ride with you, because there's people that are definitely a lot better at this than I am, and I'm still learning. So I love that whole process. But yeah, so what we're going to do this first episode, it's not going to be as long, as we wanted to take an opportunity to kind of recap 2024 and give you sort of our top books that we appreciated for the year. I got John's list. I was like, fuck, really? And then together. And I had to make the word smaller and smaller and smaller because my list kept growing. There was a lot of good stuff this past year.
I sent you that list off the top of my head, and then I actually had like 2 honorable mentions that I'll touch on as well. One of the things I found was it's whenever we do this, it's always hard to remember really the first half of the year when you're looking at our year-end retrospective, because the more recent stuff hits you and stays with you more. It's like if someone asked me like, "Oh, is the best TV show you saw this year?" I'd be like Penguin. But you know why? Really, I mean, because Penguin was just the last show that I really watched and finished out. Right? It was that recent. So it's sort of like that. It's sort of that kind of effect. So I did think about it a little more, and there's just 2 more I will just briefly mention as well. And I'm going to do my 3 sort of just in one lump, because I think they all 3 share certain things, and that's why I like them the most. So,
okay. All right. That'd be cool. All right. So before we get into our reviews, normally what we like to do is we like to just start off with a little bit of news that we have going on. If we have anything going on, some announcements, then we'll jump into the reviews, and then we'll just kind of close it out. So again, I like to mention, and I mentioned at the end of the podcast as well, if you are a creator, want to promote yourself, want to come on to the show, we'd love to have you on. We'll give you some information at the end of the podcast so that we can make that happen. So we're going to play a little bit. Let's do this. So we're going to go into our reviews the news. So 2 things that are coming out that I'm really excited about. I know one of them I mentioned last year. We didn't know if it was going to happen, but it looks like it's happening now. But before I get to that one, the other one that I want to talk about, which is really, really, really key, is wrong one. Now listen, I've had my issues with Dynamite as well. But they've really stepped up their licensing game. I mean, they've done everything under the sun with, Saturday morning cartoons that you can think of. We got what's in the works now. Johnny Quest is out. Space Ghost is out. Thundercats is out. Herculoids is coming. And then, dude, I was literally freaking just YouTube and shit the other day, and Silverhawks pops up. And like a fucking idiot, I end up buying some of the episodes because I just want like that whole opening. When it came to sort of like the Japanese animation inspired openings that you get like in Thundercats, you got in Silverhawks, and a bunch of other shows this is when we had theme songs, remember? Right. And shows. Dude, I was just mesmerized, and it brought me back, and I was like, oh my God, all the cheesy names like Monstar. And then you have a freaking Guitar Hero freaking Silverhawk in space. It brought me back, and I was like, when I saw this being solicited, I was like, fucking yes. So I'm hoping it's Ed Bryson, right, that's writing it.
I think it is. Yeah,
it is. So I'm kind of excited because they've actually put some really well-known, creators on these books. I think Declan Shalvey is doing Terminator, and if I'm not mistaken, he's also doing Thundercats, which is cool. So as long as they don't have to draw, they can keep writing the book and let other people draw. But having the right creative team on top of these books is going to be really crucial. So I'm really, really, really excited about Silverhawks. If you're a kid from the 80s and you grew up watching this, you're probably just as excited as me. I grew up watching the Herculoids as well, but I don't know, for some reason, every character I loved except for those fucking blobby shits. And it would just annoy the shit out of me, and I couldn't watch it, so I never really got into the Herculoids. But
not quite the shrews, but they were like the shrews. Yeah.
Yes.
The blobs. Yeah, they were
the blobs. Yeah.
Thing I loved about Silverhawks again, the openings of all those shows was always the better animation than the actual content inside the episodes. But the Silverhawks, in an era where a lot of these theme songs that you mentioned, were just full on bombastic 80s hair metal-esque theme musics. I feel like Silverhawks was a little the most metal of those.
Oh yes,
with just the screaming of the name and that sustain on Hawks. Like I always appreciated that.
Yeah, loved it. And then right at the end of the freaking theme song, tally ho! And it was fantastic. Sorry.
Now for me, when someone does a Galaxy Rangers reboot, I'm there.
Oh man, yeah, that was another one too.
Galaxy Rangers.
Well, we'll see. I mean, Dynamite's been pushing all these freaking licenses, and then even they've been doing the Disney stuff as well, right? Like Lilo and Stitch, and then the whole series of what do you call it? The Disney villains and stuff like that. They're pushing a lot.
If somebody does Galaxy Rangers, it's going to be Oni / Nacelle. It's going to be over there with the biker mice from Mars and the sectors and
we'll see.
The Robo Force. And
well, as long as they keep pushing out their stuff, we'll see what happens. But people got to buy it. All right, cool. So next, most important, this is what I'm really excited about. And I'm only excited about this because there's certain artists that, as you grow up, they get you to, into the comic book stores, one, and then second, they inspire you to want to get into the industry and do stuff yourself. And this artist was definitely one of them. And a lot of people used to make fun because they said he couldn't draw hands and feet. But yeah, probably still true to this day. Yes. So Rob Liefeld was pitching that he was going to get back into Youngblood and bring it back into the scene. And, for some time, he lost the rights to it. Years went by. Some shicey stuff happened with the people that actually own the rights. So I don't know what happened in the background where now that I don't know if he has the rights, but obviously we know that he's going to be drawing a new series of Youngblood. And it's going to be through Image Comics, which is, dude, freaking awesome. Because it was the first fucking book. I'm going to have to put Rated R in his podcast because I'm so excited. It was the first fucking book that came out from Image in 92, 93, whatever it was. Got it.
Now, I wonder if this is going to be sort of like its own thing, sort of like the recent Halloween movies, right? Like as far as continuity wise, just picking up after the original series because they did, because of all those legal shenanigans, Youngblood was kind of had to be scrubbed from Image's shared continuity, what they do still have
right
from the beginning, and they created Blood Squad 7 to sort of be the patch for Youngblood.
Yes,
it would be really cool if they do like a whole sort of Century or to a lesser degree Triumph from that DC, the Lost Hero, right, coming back, right? How both DC Marvel made up these guys that were around at the beginning, and then everybody forgot, and they brought it back, and then they went back. But be kind of neat if they did that sort of like, Youngblood was there, and then something happened where they weren't, so this other team had to be popped in, but now Youngblood is back, and it's like the war between Youngblood and Blood Squad 7 would be kind of fun.
Well, it's weird because I remember probably about 2 years ago, they did bring Youngblood back under Image, but Chad Bowers was and I think Liefeld was doing covers. I don't know what the whole deal was in. I don't know how they got to do it that way because they were using Youngblood characters in the book. So it was weird. and it was okay. I mean, but it was just a mini. I think it was only like 6 issues or whatever it was. I don't know if it was meant to be an ongoing. Fingers crossed that this is going to be an ongoing. I mean, Liefeld's starting to get up there as well. And I listened to his podcast. If you haven't listened to his podcast, Robservations, which is a great fucking title, definitely take a gander at it. I mean, he's still freaking excited about making comics, talking comics, and pop culture. You could just hear it in his voice. So I think as long as, there's blood running through his fingertips and he can see well, and, he's not going to have any shakes, because I think he's like maybe 7-8 years older than I am. So he's probably getting up into his going to be 60 or whatever it is. I think as long as he has it in his blood, he's going to just keep doing it. So I'm just excited that this is coming back, because this is sort of like the origin of Image Comics. And, listen, I know they did a talent search a little while ago for a reboot of Cyberforce. I don't know if there's anything moving forward with that. I know that some people won. I don't know if there's a Cyberforce in the works. That's cool. Honestly, I would love Mark Silvestri to be involved somehow, because he's just a phenomenal artist. Whether he's going to write it, maybe draw some covers and stuff like that. I'm not sure if he's going to do a ton of interiors. I think he's already past that. But that would be fantastic. If we can get freaking Dale Keown to bring some Pit back, holy shit, I could go on and on, man.
So now Young the Blood is basically Image's Avengers analog, and then Cyberforce is sort of their X-Men analog, right? Cyberforce has Ripclaw, right?
Well, yes, but the whole thing is that at that time it was always the team, right?
Yeah.
So even if you look at X-Men, you always had the smartass, you had like the Wolverine type, the badass, then you had the big guy, whatever you had. So you had your Colossus. Then you had your smart, brainy guy like the Beast and stuff like that. And each one of the teams had this. So Cyberforce was a team, Wetworks was a team, Youngblood was a team, Wildcats was a team, and they all had that same fucking magic formula. And you know what's crazy is that you don't need to change it. It literally is like 007 James Bond. How many James Bond movies are you going to fucking make? But it's still going to make a shitload of money, because people know what they're going to get, what they're going to see. They already know they're going to get fucking explosions, fancy cars, good-looking guy, hot women, and then the bad guy's going to lose at the end. The same formula worked with these comics in the 90s, and they fucking flew off the shelves. So if they kind of like got a little bit back into that, that would be awesome. That extreme phase was ridiculous with the amount of muscles that they were drawing on people and stuff like that. And I think we're in a different age now where story almost takes precedence over art. And I think there's very few creators that kind of make the two really coincide with one another. Like Tom King is one of my favorite writers now. He's just, I don't think he could do any wrong, really. Even when there's no freaking action going on, it's just really interesting. Scott Snyder has stepped up his game. Joshua Williamson, Daniel Warren Johnson. But he's a writer artist. So you have fewer of those, but there's a lot. There's not as many of those that can make a story and art go really, really, really well together. So I'm just excited. So yeah,
the Image aesthetic in the early days, I think, was a little more art over story. It is now, definitely moved a little bit more to emphasis on story over art, or a nice mesh of the two. But when it comes to their superhero stuff, their team books and stuff, it will always be belts and pockets over everything else.
Yeah. And you know what? I'd love to see. The big two have that market, right? They have the superhero market. And everybody knows who Superman is, who Batman is, who Wonder Woman is. But if you go out and ask a majority of the people out there who Youngblood is, most people aren't. So it'd be kind of cool to have some mainstream characters from an indie scene. And I know that sounds kind of ironic, but it would just be awesome to see if we can get sort of like this superhero genre to have sort of like a third leg rather than just being the big two. But we'll see what happens. I know that he has in the works Evangeline coming out as a movie. I think there's a script working out, and I think Margot Robbie and what is her name? I can't remember it at the top of my head. Olivia something. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. But
Olivia Wilde.
Olivia Wilde, yeah. From what I understand, they're attached to the picture, which is interesting. And then I think Prophet was also in the works, and Jake Gyllenhaal was attached to that project.
Right.
And then you had Spawn, which is
don't forget the Spawn reboot that
taking forever.
Saying is going to happen.
Jamie Foxx was attached to that as well before everything happened with him. And it's funny because I saw his special. Did you see his special on Netflix?
No, I didn't. I heard about it.
Funny as shit, but it's sort of like his, what happened to him in those that missing time. So there was it got a little Jesus-y for me at the end. But yeah, it was funny, and he's a lot better now. So if he's still attached to the project and that happens, then we get these, non-big 2 superhero motion pictures, which would be really, really, really cool because, some of these characters definitely deserve to be on the big screen. I think Youngblood honestly has the potential, if not to be on the big screen, then to absolutely be a series on like Netflix or Amazon Prime, but like a live action series, not an animation, which would be fucking cool. But we'll see. We shall see. All right, that's my rant. All right, Rob Liefeld, have you heard that? You can come on here anytime, bro, and talk Youngblood and anything else you want. Even though I know you're not going to come on here because you have your own show, but the invitation is there.
Also, coming up within the first half of the year, you got a convention appearance, right?
Yes. So March blah 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 blah. I'll shoot some more details and probably talk about it as we get closer as well. But IC3 or the Indie Creative Comic Con, I believe this is their second annual show. They had such great success last year. They put it on again, made it even bigger. It is solely for independent creators. So small publishers, small press, independent creators that are, publishing their own work. There's no fan art, nothing. I'm really excited about this because we don't only have a table there, but holy crap, am I going to walk around and just see what's out there? Because I'm really excited about seeing what's out on the indie market. So yeah, sometime in March, it's over at in Connecticut. Like I said, I'll give the details, and it's on the website. So if you go to amazingactioncomics.com, it's on the news site right there. So we'll be there for sure. That's actually going to be the reboot of Project Shatterbreeze. So we'll have issue 1 at hand there for anybody who comes. And it's also going to be a teaser of my book, Guardian City. So it's going to be like a little short story that's going to be mixed in with like sort of like a source book of the characters that are in that particular story. So I'm really excited about that as well. So we've got some really great stuff happening for this year. So that'll be probably the first, I believe, first show that we're going to do. And then there's another one coming sometime in the summer that I'm excited about. So I'm trying to be really selective with the shows and really stick to the market that's for us. So yeah, there you go. All right, cool. Good. We killed some time there. So let's rock and roll. So now let's just jump into 2024 top picks. Here. Look at the disparity in this list. Holy crap. There's John's picks. There's Angel's picks for 2024. All right, so I'm going to let him go over his picks really quickly. And I know he had some honorable mentions. And I'm not going to go through every single one of these guys, but I'm just going to kind of let you know which ones I really, really, really dug. But there was so much great content this past year.
Yeah, so. Rockefeller's almost made the cut.
It's so good.
It is. But you know what? Only 2 issues in before the end of the year. I know same with G.I. Joe, but I'm sort of including the build up to the G.I. Joe.
Right, the John verse.
Led into it. Yeah. So all right, cool. No, that's a good list though. That's a really good list. Like, some of these I'm not reading, right? I'm not a big Spawn guy, so I'm not doing Sam and Twitch or Violator. I read the first issue of Kill All Our Mortals. It was good. I just didn't continue with it. So
stop reading my list. Go over your list.
All right. So obviously all of mine are from Image. However, G.I. Joe is from the Skybound imprint of Image, and Red Coat is from the Ghost Machine imprint of Image. Now Ghost Machine, I think originally was Mad Ghost, rebranded. It might be Ghost Engine. I forget. It's one of those. Ghost Machine or Ghost Engine.
Stuff is always changing.
It's probably, you know what? If it was one, it's probably just changed and is now the other. Yeah. So curated by Jeff Johns. I really love this series. It is part of the shared universe that includes Geiger, Junkyard Joe, and a new character called the Northerner. I'm a big history nerd, and this is very steeped in American history. And you get really interesting takes on historical figures like Benedict Arnold, Albert Einstein, or two characters, George Washington. I mean, it's a really neat book, gorgeously illustrated by Brian Hitch. Brian Hitch, known for casting, his actors as his when he draws. So I really just see Chris Hemsworth all over the page on this, and I know the aim for this Ghost Machine stuff is to have it, branch out into adaptations, either animation, television, or film, right? So we're 8 issues in. The first 6 issues told pretty much a complete story arc. Issue 7 was sort of an epilogue to that first story arc, and then issue 8 was a great bottle episode that sets up the next sort of thing that's going to happen in this book and in this unnamed universe, as far as those that and Geiger are concerned. Now, Grit, not a perfect book, but I've really enjoyed it, reading each issue, and there's some unifying things with these other 2 books. So G.I. Joe, again, we've talked extensively about the first issue, and since then the second issue has come out. Again, I'm putting it on there because I am including the miniseries that build up to it. The Duke, Scarlet, Cobra Commander, and Destro. I did not read the Scarlet one, and I will say that even if you have not read those miniseries, you could dive right into this first issue. It is a great entry point. It has the trappings of familiarity, right? Because it very much is like the early 1982 Larry Hama G.I. Joe, where the stakes are high. Don't get too attached to any character because they might not last long. But it has that aesthetic of the Saturday morning cartoon show where lasers are in play, but these lasers are dangerous, and people aren't missing like they did on the old cartoon show. So I think Joshua Williamson did a really good job of just blending those 2 aesthetics. That really stood out with the Cobra Commander miniseries, taking one of the most ridiculous G.I. Joe cartoon concepts and really making it palatable in this universe. And again, kudos to them for keeping the Larry Hama written G.I. Joe still going on. But at that point, for me, as someone who enjoyed those when they were, when that series started and straight through for the first bunch of years, I loved that. At this point, that has been over 40 years of story, but the characters haven't aged. It's really a book that started out like, hey, we're not going to be like a typical comic book, has really turned into a typical, long running comic book where the changes that have happened become so cartoony and so ridiculous that it's a little hard for me to follow at this point. So, but I still love the property. So this was just a great re-entry, that again feels like it's familiar, but that familiarity does make the differences pop. Right. Sort of like I've said that's about Bigger Batman by Scott Snyder over at the DC. Yep. So I've really been enjoying this. Feral is by the guys that did Stray Dogs, and just like Stray Dogs, each issue has such a great cliffhanger that it is maddening to wait between issues for the next issue. It is about, cats in a rabies zombie apocalypse and navigating, rabid wolves, dogs, and other cats. Like G.I. Joe and like Redcoat, don't get attached to any character because the stakes are high. And I like that in a book, even though it can be maddening and frustrating because you become attached to these characters, whether they're human or cat. When they get taken off the table, it really hits you. It affects you. And that to me is good storytelling. That's you want to be invested in these characters. And you kind of want those stakes to be high. So that's one unifying thing about all 3 of these. Again, I think there's just like G.I. Joe with Redcoat having the historical background, with Feral being done by creators who had done something else with a different animal, right? With a set of animals, dogs. familiar trappings that make these differences pop. They're all ongoings. And to me, that's I think where I get a little worried. Because like I said originally with G.I. Joe Real American Hero, the Larry Hama written 300 plus issues, how long is it going to go? Where's the end point? And it has had end points and several times, and it just keeps coming back, So if like this G.I. Joe was going to be a 12-issue miniseries or a 24, like if there was a definite end game to this, Redcoat, again, the character's immortal. So there is no necessarily, there's a possibility that this is going to go well. Could be. It's not a finite ending until it gets canceled. Mm-hmm. Feral is designed as an ongoing, and I think that also will, at a certain point, might work against that book as well. So as much as I love these 3 books, and I thought these were my top 3 ongoings of the year, I really feel like these should not be ongoings, but at the same token, I really want them to keep going for as long as they can.
Right.
Tell that story, let the story breathe. So I'm of 2 minds about that. But those are the 3 that I really love this year that are still going on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I don't mean to cut you off, but I think like the magic formula of longevity, right? I think honestly, if we're gonna keep it real, it's superheroes.
Yeah.
Because look at Batman. Yeah. Look at Superman. If we're looking
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. I mean, these guys have been around forever. Then you look at more recent. Who hit 300 recently? You have G.I. Joe. Yep. You have Spawn.
Yep.
This is all superhero genre.
Oh yeah, it's all fantasy stuff.
Yeah, so stuff like Redcoat, stuff like Feral, as much as you want to, because even look at the stuff that was really popular that went on and made millions, that brought Robert Kirkman into the fold of Image Comics.
Right.
Walking Dead,
right.
Invincible.
Yeah.
Those are fantastic.
Yeah.
But they ended.
Yeah.
They ended. Even though Invincible was a superhero-based comic, it ended as well. So I think when you have, and this is what, I don't know, it just drives me fucking insane. that when I think characters that have been around for a while but become part of our pop culture, become a part of the fabric of what it means to be, I don't want to say American, but when you think of superheroes, everybody will start to name their favorite superheroes that they know.
Right.
And so I think if you don't have, it just sucks. Like it's like running a race when these guys have been running for so long.
Right.
That you're trying to catch up and to try to break that mold is difficult in that respect. And I think Invincible was really close to doing that, especially when it came to the animation. It'll never be as big as what's already out there, but I don't think it needs to be. I think it'll have its place in the pantheon along with The Walking Dead, which are great things, but they ended.
So it's funny you bring that up with Kirkman specifically, because both Walking Dead and Invincible, mainstream comics, like you mentioned, Superman, Batman, it's always they want to create the illusion of change without any lasting change.
Right.
I was thinking about this recently, like in the 80s when Iron Man got the new armor with the white, the silver instead of the yellow gold, right? And I was like, wow, that was like, what, 4 years? No, it was only like 2 years, less than 2 years but at that time, as it felt like forever. Whoa, this costume is so different. And it felt like that was a really long time in the moment. Books like Walking Dead and Invincible were not afraid to create lasting change. There's a whole chunk of Invincible where the lead character that you started with is not the lead character anymore. Right. This is something that Eric Larson has been doing over at Savage Dragon. Walking Dead, the cast you followed by the end of the book was fundamentally different from the cast at the beginning of the book. It was not afraid to take players off the table. And of these books, Feral and G.I. Joe absolutely, whenever they hit their endpoint, on these stories, have the potential to have a completely different cast of characters. Look, cats don't live that long anyway, especially if they're fighting off other rabies infected zombie cats. But but so there are high stakes, and even Redcoat also has that element. But your lead character is an immortal, so it's going to be a cast that's going to change around this one.
Right.
And again, that is both exciting for the possibility of an ongoing, but yeah, I mean, look, ongoing is up until the creator is done telling that story or sales dictate it has to end.
Right.
There's aside from G.I. Joe, these are not big IPs that are going to hit 1,000 issues like Superman or Batman. Right. So yeah, there's within a few years, at least Feral and Redcoat will probably hit that end point. And then if this G.I. Joe ends, it's going to get another reboot, another iteration, or Larry Hama will be on 520, 500.
Well, that's going to go on forever. So so I and it's different because you know what? Now, Robert Kirkman has got sort of like into that IP business because it's Transformers and G.I. Joe within his universe, but then bringing in his own Void Rivals, kind of like round out that universe. You can have storytelling for a really long time, and it will be sort of like an Elseworld for G.I. Joe and Transformers because Void Rivals was never in their world, and they were never in each other's world. So he could be playing with this stuff for a long time, and I'm okay with that because it's been fucking fantastic. So I absolutely agree with you there. And it's funny because I don't think you're reading Larry Hama's G.I. Joe right now, right?
No, I'm not. No. So I actually was curious as to what was going on.
Yeah.
Snake Eyes was back with a face and a voice.
Yes.
I did a little research into that, and I was like, that's why I was like, this is a comic book now. This is not like what I remember it as G.I. Joe being.
Right.
Or it was all the reasons why I got out of the G.I. Joe comic book. Like Serpentor, right?
Serpentor and them. But it's funny because now when I'm reading both of them side by side or when they're coming out, Hammers reminds me more of like the classic G.I. Joe cartoon as opposed to what they're doing over at Skybound with the whole G.I. Joe, Transformers, and Void Rival stuff. It seems a little more edgy. Like I'm literally at the edge of my seat every time I pick up the comic because I don't know who's gonna fucking die that I know. And when they're dead, they're pretty much dead. Unless you're a Transformer, because they're the only ones that seem to be able to come back. But all the human characters that have died, they're probably gonna stay dead, which is fantastic. And I respect. So yeah.
Oh, I'll let you know these cats and Feral, when you see the gore, like they are definitively not coming back right in this book.
Well, why I'll never read that book?
Yeah.
Because it's anthropomorphic.
It is anthropomorphic, yes. I mean, look, they're not like wearing suits and carrying guns or nothing, but you are inside the heads of these cats.
But here's the difference, though, right? So I spoke about it before that I got out of my comfort zone with Good Boy. But Good Boy was different because it was anthropomorphic, but they interacted with human beings.
They acknowledged they were anthropomorphic.
Yes, which is crazy. But when you have like truly anthropomorphic, where animals are just talking to animals, and when a human's in a room, all you hear is wow, 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 wow. No, you're not going to get me, bro.
Now, I do have the two honorable mentions. They were both 5-issue miniseries. I believe both were from Boom. One was called Displaced or The Displaced. The other was Pine and Merrimack. The Displaced was fantastic. It was about one of my biggest fears is sinkhole. Sinkhole swallows up a town disappears, and then like within 24 hours, that land, like the town that was on the other side, comes right up to that town line. That land fills in, and then everybody forgets that town and the people in that town that just hit the sinkhole existed. Terrifying, really well illustrated by a guy who Castellaneta, I think he did a series I loved from a couple years ago regarding the matters of Oswald Body. Really good illustrator. I think Ed Brisson actually wrote the Displaced as well, if I'm remembering correctly, because I don't have my notes with me. But yeah, really good 5-issue miniseries. Again, just so with these 3 titles, these other 2 minis, these were the books I look forward to the most every month to come out.
Cool.
So Feral, G.I. Joe, Redcoat, The Displaced and this Pine and Merrimack, which is about a husband and wife private investigating team. He's a former UFC fighter. She's a former cop. Really good interpersonal relationships, and then a real freaky sort of secret society on an island off the coast of their town type mystery about dealing with like child abduction and satanic rituals and things like that. Really hit my wheelhouse with a real mind F of an ending that I was like, wow, that was a good way to use that trope.
Nice.
So that was a great 5-issue miniseries. But yeah, those 5 books, I mean, especially these 3 that are still going on. These are the books I wait for every month. The moment I'm done finishing one of them, I'm like, I need that next issue. And that's why I love comics, right? That was always the draw when I first got into comics as a kid. You read that book and you're like,
can't wait for the next one.
Is that, you read the end of Amazing Spider-Man 299, you see that full page spread and you're like, holy crap, is that the Joker in the black in the symbiote suit? You're like, who could that be? So yeah, like that surprise before you get to see that next
nice issue. Okay, so my list is just a little bit longer than John's. On there, I'm not going to go over each and every one of these, but just really quickly, it was just a really good, solid year for stuff for us to get into, which was really great. And there was some continuation of stuff from the previous year. So, I mean, I'll say it all the time. My genre is just that superhero genre. If it looks like it has a superhero on a cover and inside, I'll take a gander at it because I'm always really interested to see what people are going to do with that trope. If there's something that I haven't seen in the many, many, many years that I've been reading comics. But then I've expanded out further because there's some really great stories that are out there that have nothing to do with superheroes and are just fantastic to read. So Kill All Immortals from Dark Horse, just really great. If you're into Vikings and not Vikings all at the same time, just fantastic. It's pretty much just about a family who found this meteorite that gave them immortality. And the father will do anything to protect the family and their immortality because now there's a possibility that they can die, which is great. So I think it's up to like issue 7 now. So the first trade has come out. It was a little bit of a slow burn in the beginning. I mean, there's a lot of killing going on from the beginning, but understanding what was happening sort of like kicked in around issue 3 and 4. And you were like, holy shit, this last issue, I was like fucking bonkers. So great. Sam and Twitch and Violator are part of the Spawn universe. There was a long time where Spawn was all by himself. And then all of a sudden there was this big bang. And from this big bang, a whole shitload of Spawn universe books came out. So you got King Spawn, you had Scorch, you had Deadslinger Spawn, you've got Rat City now. You've got these minis that have come out as well.
Deadly Tales of Gunslinger Spawn.
Yeah, which just came out. And then you had
Recipes of Gunslinger Spawn.
Yeah. Was it Mercy? What's her name? It is Mercy.
It was
Mercy.
Mercy. Yep.
Yeah, Mercy came out, which is the daughter of what's his face? It's Wanda's daughter. So then you have Sam and Twitch, which I believe is an ongoing and probably fucking such a great detective book because there's really no superhero stuff. Every now and then you'll see like Spawn pop up, but it'll be just Twitch saying, Spawn, I don't have time for you right now. And then he just walks away kind of thing. So it's funny, but it's really a detective story and the relationship between these two detectives and, Twitch's marriage. So there's like these sort of like these real life stresses in his life in the book, and you can kind of feel it while they're, solving these cases that are just really bizarre. So if it's an ongoing, I'm in. Violator is a mini. I believe it's going to 6 issues, and it's pretty much just the origin of Violator. If you think you can't get 6 issues out of it, you can get 6 issues out of it. It's really cool to see what they did with like kind of Heaven and Hell in the beginning and sort of like where Violator was in regards to the Heaven aspect of him and what kind of drew him away from that. Along with the person that was supposed to be his mate for life. So it's pretty cool. And it's funny because Violator to me almost reminds me of Image's Deadpool because of the way that Violator talks to the camera and talks to the audience is sort of that way. I can't read Deadpool because of that. I find it annoying. Love the fucking movies. It's just so like he's such an annoying character that I can only take him in dribs and dabs. So like I'm reading Deadpool and Wolverine now. The first one, I think Benjamin Percy, right?
Yep.
Fuck, he's so great. First issue was fantastic, and I can hear his voice in my head, and it's like, fuck. But Wolverine kind of neutralized that for me. So yeah. So when it comes to his own, I can't. Violet is almost on that precipice of if I got too much of him, it would be annoying as fuck. But he's such a cool character. Blood Squad 7 was my superhero fix. John mentioned it before. These are sort of like a throwback to the characters from the 90s. They're actually legacy characters, or actually one of them is, because their mom has moved up into the government. The daughter is now sort of like the lead of this squad, and it's just been really good. There's some stuff that's going on, and it kind of reminds me of sort of like the almost simple plots that you had in the 90s. Like you knew who were the bad guys, you knew who were the good guys, you knew who were what the motives were, kind of stuff. Not to say that it's written poorly. It's really, really good. Thundercats, Dynamite. Yep. If you love the show, Declan Shalvey's been doing a really great job at keeping this trekking along. I think we're already on issue 8 or 9 or something like that. It's crazy that it's been a year almost with Thundercats, but just really, really cool, drawn really well as well. G.I. Joe, we spoke about. Falling in Love with To the Path of Hell. Jerry Duggan used to be a patron younger as a child to the Joker's Child, and he's I think the first thing I read of his that was solo was Analog, which was it was really, really cool, really amazing. Sort of like what did it remind me of? But pretty much in like a future that had everything digital. These carriers or the messengers would carry actual letters from one place to another. So their job was really dangerous, and they were really key to keeping stuff out of people's hands. And so he made this book called Falling in Love on the Path to Hell, and it's about two people who are from the opposite sides of the world, die, find each other, and are protecting each other from this road of not dying again. I always found it fucking crazy that you can die and then die again in the afterlife. So the second time you die is the final. It's just fucking weird because there was another book that was with it was Scott Snyder and it was Greg Capullo.
Yeah.
I'm not going to remember the title. Reborn.
Yes.
And it was the same fucking thing. She died, but they can die again, and then that's it. It's done. So, yeah, the rules, I guess, are that.
At the end after the end from a couple years ago as well. That did the same thing, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But that doesn't take away from this being a really fucking fantastically written book, and it looks beautiful. So, yeah, I would definitely check that out. Rockefellers, John mentioned, we're only 2 issues in. I just thought it was beautifully drawn, and the story was really interesting, having this family. And, we've seen it before, but you have this family that kind of remind me of the Robinsons from Lost in Space. And are running away we don't know why they're running away. They're being hunted down, and they're in our time, which is their past kind of thing. So really, it's just really beautiful. And I think what really drew me to it is how each one of the characters' personalities really shine through the writing. So when I'm looking at comics or reading comics, I want to be taken in. And when you can draw me with different personalities coming out, and you have to read it that way. So the way that it's written, you read it the way that sort of like your head tells you that, oh shit, this character sounds like this character sounds like that. It just happens automatically. So it's really great. And the stakes are kind of right. I mean, they were up from the very beginning because we already had a death in the first one, and then it just ends on a really great cliffhanger on the second one. So good stuff. I Heart Skull Crusher is sort of like this anime crazed, anime inspired, but still looks like an American comic, but it has some like anime influences on it, about this girl who is head over heels for this game. I forgot what the game was called, but basically the main character that plays this game is Skull Crusher, and they literally beat the shit out of each other to death. It's probably the only Boom comic that I actually enjoyed this year a lot. So they're coming out with a ton of content, which is crazy. But yeah, this caught my eye, and I'm still on it. Where Monsters Lie, Cul-de-sac. So John and I read the first volume of this, which was just entitled Where Monsters Lie. So effing clever to have a community of serial killers that don't kill one another, because that's the number one rule, but are there to support each other for killing outside the community. And then on top of that, it's sort of like a fraternity where they're expected to have a certain amount of kills, and they have like themes for different holidays and shit. It was just so fucking bizarre and out there. And the catch or the hook is that they left one of the kids alive when they were young, killing their parents, and he vowed, sort of like Batman, to get revenge on these people. And this cul-de-sac is the second series of this. Holy shit, it is so good. If you want to read something that's there's gore in it, I mean, it's just so clever and so great. Like, the conversations they're having are like conversations that you would have with like your friend, but they're fucking serial killers. It's just fantastic. So this is probably one of my standout books for the year, only because it's so far removed from anything that I would normally read, and it caught me by such a great surprise that I look forward to this book when it comes out. Like, I think the next issue comes out next week. It was the first thing I put in my freaking my cart so that I can check out for that shit. So yeah, check it out. And there were plenty of books that we read, and there were a lot more books that we could probably put on the list, but these are the ones that kind of stood out for me for this past year. So there's some terrific reads on here. If you haven't had a chance to, I implore you to go visit your local comic book shop and see if they have any in back issues, or see if they can get even the trades, because some of these stuff are already in trade format. Because, Blood Squad 7 was my fix for superhero genre, but Local Man is still coming out, and that started in 2023. So yeah, there's plenty of stuff out there that's probably already in trade that you can get. I think the Falling in Love to the Path of Hell, the first trade just came out. That'll be a wonderful read to just sit down and get those, first 6 issues in the bank on that. You definitely will be disappointed. But yeah, those are our top 2024 picks. And we have stuff that's coming out this week that we're going to get ready to review for next week. So we'll definitely be back to our regular time next week with some brand new content that is coming out. So I think that brings us to a close, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's about it, kiddos. That's what we have for you. So I'll give you like 3 more seconds with that list so you can write it down. And woo! All right, gang. So that's all that we have for you this week. If you like what you heard, please subscribe to the podcast. Better yet, invite 100 of your closest friends to come on to the show and give us a listen. If you want to come on to the show, you're a creator, want to promote yourself, anything that you got coming up this year, we implore you to just go to amazingactioncomics.com/podcast, fill out the form. We'll get you on. John and I would love to have you on to talk about you and or what you got coming up. Visit amazingactioncomics.com to stay up to date on everything that we got going on, including our schedule for upcoming shows and whatever else that we got going on there as well. Last but not least, please support your local comic shops, because without them, we would not be able to do what we love to do the most, which is read and talk comics. John, where do you get your comics from?
Well, I get my comics at The Joker's Child in Fair Lawn, New Jersey. And if you come on down to The Joker's Child with this list of our favorite books, we'll load you up with either the back issues or the trade paperback collections of these books and more. And one of the great things about The Joker's Child is that 3 of the books on our list, G.I. Joe #1, one of our customers at The Joker's Child had his photo in the back matter of that book because he was one of the many people that submitted his photo. Feral, every week or every issue, readers submit pictures of their cats. One of the customers at The Joker's Child had pictures of his 2 cats in Feral. And Falling in Love on the Path to Hell, written by Jerry Duggan, as Angel mentioned, used to shop at The Joker's Child. In the letters column of issue 5 of Falling in Love on the Path to Hell, Jerry Duggan writes about The Joker's Child and being made fun of by Len when he was a kid. I used to shop there. So tell you what, you buy comics at The Joker's Child, you might wind up in your favorite comic.
That's hilarious. Well, that's only because this store has been around for 30 plus years, which is crazy. So, all right, kiddies.
Next year will be 37 in a row.
Older than me. All right, kiddies, that's what we have for you this week. We look forward to seeing you next week. So until next time, please be amazing, stay amazing, and